Hi, everyone. This is State of State. This podcast is presented by betonline.ag, your number one source for all your sports info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's NBA playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters. We have you covered for all your sports wagering needs, whether it's the NBA, Major League Baseball, the NHL, right to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options, plus your favorite Vegas, casino, and card games that you can play right from your home. Head to betonline.ag today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. State of State is presented by BetOnline, where the game starts. Also, State of State is a proud supporter of Blue White Outfitters. Blue White Outfitters was created as a retail shop meant to highlight the confidence, competitiveness, and fearlessness of the elite athletes found throughout the history of Penn State University. All sales from Blue White Outfitters directly benefit Penn State student athletes. Visit www.bluewhiteoutfitters.com today. Welcome to another edition of State of State. We've got a full outlook on what's coming up for the Penn State Nittany Lions in 2023, and we are joined by Penn State legendary linebacker Michael Mauti. He is now a part of the coaching staff as a part of Trinity High School, the Shamrocks in the Harrisburg area. So if you're a young kid watching this, thinking about where you want to go to high school and be coached by Mike Mauti is going to be a good answer for that. But there is just so much that we could dive into. Obviously, Mike, I do want to touch on your coaching aspirations now and also what you've been doing with Lions Legacy Club. But let's start with where everybody is looking at in regards to how this Penn State team is shaping up for 2023. You, like Justin, got to be in State College for Blue White weekend. What was the feel for you? What did you see? What did you like?
Well, I liked it a lot. So the Blue White game, it's a showcase, right? You're trying to get your guys on the field. You're trying to keep them healthy at the same time and not show too much. But I thought, let me answer that in two ways. I didn't see as much of the game as I would like to see. The Blue White game, you end up getting caught up talking and distracted. But what I did see was exciting. Some young guys flying around, which was good to see. Some big hits on the defense. You get some guys kind of showing up, which is great to see. It's their first time being out there. I was there at practice throughout the spring, ball and a little bit on the field one or two times, maybe even two, maybe more than that. But got to spend some time in the meeting rooms around the guys. I just really like the culture they have, the type of kids they have in there, and then the way that they're being coached up. I think their culture is as strong as it ever has been. They got a bunch of guys that really want to win. They want to work, and they get it. So that really was impressive to me. If anything, it was encouraging because you got to have those kind of factors in. You spend some time away, and then you come back. They got lettermen on staff that get it and that are being coached up. So they're doing a heck of a job over there.
The one big thing that came out of the Blue-White game, James Franklin was harping on it, every last member of the media was talking about it, is just how freaking good this defense looks. And I think Manny Diaz obviously started off on a great foot. Last year, that defense was very, very good, kept Penn State in a lot of ball games, won them a lot of ball games. Nothing against what the offense was doing, but still, this was a very good defense. And it seems like what we're about to see in 2023 could be an elite defense. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, it's typical in most spring games, right? The defense comes out and they're not thinking as much, right? And it's live fire. We got a crowd. There's a little bit more energy. Favor goes to the defense in those situations most of the time. But you add that to the fact that there's some talent on this defense now, across the board that you haven't seen in a while, from the D-line to the linebacker room, which is now a full stable of guys. The depth that you haven't seen in a couple of years. So, and then on the back end, the way that Manny mixes it up, I really like the schematics and how he's doing it, how he mixes it up conceptually. So, they're going to be a contender for sure. It's up to them. That's really the position you want to be in, right? They got all the ingredients. You hope they stay healthy and they go out and execute.
Yeah, there seems to be incredible depth at defensive back, which Justin and I have talked about a lot. It's rapidly becoming lockdown U. There's edge rushers, pass rushers. You'd like to see maybe some improvement at defensive tackle, and they're trying to make some moves, it seems like, in the transfer portal, but still you feel positive altogether about that. But especially the linebackers. I mean, this was a position last year that had some question marks going into it, and that you knew you were going to have Curtis Jacobs there. Abdul Carter was a true freshman, but obviously starred and earned that number 11 in every last way. And after spring practice period, not just the blue-white game, but the spring practice period, two other names that really jumped out: Tony Rojas, Tamir Robinson. Are there any other linebackers that you're seeing on the radar that you really liked what you got to see when you did get to go to those practices?
Yeah, I didn't see as much of the true freshman guys that had just come in up until that spring game, but just as a group, and then Edelson's another guy who's got a ton of experience, who's just a matter of just staying healthy. I know that's going to help that young group coming along. They got a really good mix of guys, and the way that Manny mixes them in there, or rotates them rather, they're going to be fresh. They'll be flying around. So I think that just that whole group elevates by having that mixture, which is a good mixture. I think if you got some young guys, some older guys, and of course up and coming. I mean, it gives you the ability to do a lot of different things. His third down package is going to be exciting to watch, of course, but they got a good mix. It reminds me of a little bit of when I was in New Orleans. I came down from Minnesota, which was we had our 4-3. It was pretty well. I guess it was a pretty stable. It was a 4-3 system, right? So I come down to New Orleans. Dennis Allen was just feast or famine, blitz zero, like 4th and 2, game on the line, let's go. Which is man up everybody and then let's send everybody. So the rushing coverage aspect, I really like the way that Manny mixes it up. They got the ingredients to do that at those skill positions, right? If you can rush, you don't got to cover that long. And so that makes it a little bit more fun and exciting to watch.
No, most definitely. I think that's a great point that you make. It's just the different ingredients that he does have, like in terms of Manny throwing the different blitzes in there, having the back end doing that. You dive into it a little bit when we talk about just the linebacker position in general, right? Like just the evolution of the linebacker. I mean, back in the day when I was growing up, we saw guys like Greg Lloyd, 260-pound Mike linebacker, LaVon Kirklands, and then it's like kind of transitioned into more of the hybrid safety type of models. But at the end of the day, we know that football is still football and physicality is still physicality. So what do you see when you see the progression of linebackers from the time that you played to where they're at now? I mean, even someone like Abdul Carter is extremely large linebacker and moves well the way he does now for Penn State. But what do you see now from the linebacker position as it continues to progress?
Yeah, I think that, look, again, conceptually, like schematically rather, they do some different things. It's not like, we used to just line up and like country cover 3 and like we knew it was just, we sit there and first, second down, third down, we go to nickel and we got two guys that were a little bit more dynamic and they would play the passing downs. So I think, but we've always had that mixture of guys that were fundamentally sound. They could get off blocks, they could run, they could hit, and they were great tacklers. And like that combination of Penn State linebacker, that makeup, I think is that won't ever change. That's that's the makeup, right? Or at least you'd hope that. Now when you got Dan Conner in the room coaching them, I think that's a pretty good bet that's going to continue to get developed. But at the same time, now you have weapons like Abdul. Again, it kind of reminds me of when I was in Minnesota when Mike Zimmer brought in Anthony Barr, and he's kind of like our X guy on third down packages. He wasn't just a linebacker. I came in as a rookie and was stoning dudes, and then by the way, you could cover a deep middle or deep third. Just that kind of flexibility gives you some really, really fun options. But at the same time, I love watching this group develop and mature. You watch some of them develop last year over the course of the season, and in the bowl game you saw it, how they were getting tested in different ways, different route combinations, and now it tests you as a young linebacker. You got to go cover back, which out of the backfield, or they're going to throw you in different combinations and make you work with safeties, make you communicate, and those things are challenging. But you saw them step to the occasion and grow throughout the year. So I think they're just going to continue to do that.
That's a great point, because the growth potential for linebackers, I think, for the common fan is kind of hard to recognize, right? Because there's a lot of splash plays for linebackers. It's like, oh, he makes a splash play, or he might miss a tackle, but just the poetic movement of reading a play, shooting a gap, or doing those different type of things, you just start to see a lot of the talent acquisition process where you get smaller linebackers, right? More safety type of builds. We've seen it in the draft this past week. Even the top defensive linemen were, I mean, besides one was they were like a lot smaller than trending in past years, just based on how the game is progressing. And so it's interesting to see Penn State now still have, solid size linebackers, and you have that rare unique of size and speed and length and physicality. How do you see, like, all the different times that you've been at Penn State or seen these different things? How do you see that transition or use it into your coaching bag when you're going into your new coaching role at Trinity?
Look, you take everything you learned over the course of time and the different schemes and coaches that I've been fortunate to be around, and you kind of match it with the players, the makeup skill sets that you have. And Jordan Hill's been, I'm learning the job he's already done, but the staff he's got has already put a lot of that together, and I'm just looking forward to adding some of my experience to that. And helping develop the guys we have, because we got a young group as well, but also talented and with a lot of upside. So, you get into situations where how about this? You draw something on the board and they're like, well, where'd that come from? Like, oh, well, it was week 15 and we were playing. It just like comes out of you, and so that this gives you flexibility. It's just tools in the tool belt, situationally that that's again what makes it fun. So.
No, most definitely. It's an exciting time. I mean, you talk a little bit about just in college sports in general, with the name, image, and likeness coming to the forefront. Can you talk to us a little bit about the mission and everything that you guys are doing at Lion Legacy?
Yeah, that's so part of the reason football drew me back into this space. Just being around Penn State, I was, hadn't been around in years, and about 2 years ago when this ruling came out, I'm kind of was tracking back towards the Northeast and then towards this state, of course. But being around football has always been something that's been a part of me and my whole life. And so, understanding like the dynamics and the rule changes and the players within the university and the program over the years, I felt like I could add value to that ecosystem and just for all the connections I had made. That was partly the genesis of why I felt like I wanted to throw my weight behind the Lions Legacy Club, which was to provide that support vehicle for the football program, which was needed. It's like it or not, it's a necessary component of whatever this is going to look like in the next 2 or 3 years. And fortunately, there are people that know how to do that and that do that. Do the contract, do the compliance. They do it the right way. So you add our culture into that. We're never going to be leading with bags of money. That's just not what Penn State does. That's not how we've ever done things. What makes anyone believe we're gonna just start doing that? So the idea is to co-create that culture in this new era. And I believe that we've made a lot of progress on that front with the Legacy Club. We've been doing a lot of great things. We got a full team behind us operationally, and so we're just continuing to try to get better there and continue to be dynamic in the way that the marketplace has been. I think you're going to see this thing kind of settle a little bit, but again, it's a moving target, and we're everyone's building the plane as we're flying it, so to speak. And so it's just important to do things the right way. And the beautiful thing is, and just to kind of summarize, just to close the loop on that, is that like Coach Franklin and the job he's done to be able to bring in the guys that understand that this isn't a 1-year deal. This isn't a 2-year. This is a 30-year decision. That's why you come to Penn State. They don't lead with those. The way they recruit, and they're not bringing in those type of guys from what I could tell. And the locker room culture is as strong as it's been. Just having been around a lot of the players, and that's encouraging to me. So I think for any fans that are out there kind of concerned about that part, That's being really well managed, and again, encouraged at everything that's going on. And I'm proud to say that the Legacy Club has been a part of that, and we're working really closely with the team. Obviously, we can't be direct support. That's per the rules and the compliance, but we're doing a heck of a job managing that. And again, the team behind us is doing really well. So making a lot of progress. We got a long way to go for sure.
No, that's great. That's great points, man. Thanks for filling us in on that. And just for the blast from the past, if NIL era was going on when you were playing, how would you have capitalized on it?
You're the expert.
Just to give you a second to think about that, I think there is a misconception amongst college football fans of what NIL is, kind of what you're just touching on in terms of, it's just straight up pay for play, pay to be, come to the university flat out. But there's a lot of good that can be done with NIL benefits. So it's reflecting on your time and kind of seeing how Penn State athletes now are benefiting from it. What would have been a positive in Michael Mauti's life, and whether it was while you're at Penn State or the years that followed?
Yeah, look, I mean, it probably would have made things a lot easier. I guess, well, A, financially, but B, my family for 8 years. I had my brother for 5 years coming to Penn State, traveling from Louisiana. That wasn't something that was just like we had a family slush fund for. I mean, like that's taxing on any family that's coming up, traveling to games, watching their kids play. And in hindsight, you don't realize those kind of things. But we were running out of meal points every 2 weeks into the month, and like a lot of those things. That's just the way it was. But at the same time, look, in hindsight, you could play that game all day. 42s on the side of the helmet, 42 jerseys. I probably would have done well in the NIL world. But again, that's not why that's not the decision I made to go to Penn State. Was not money forward. It wasn't like financially motivated. It was for all the reasons why you want to come to Penn State, which is to have a great opportunity to have success on and off the field for the rest of life, be part of the network and brotherhood, all those things. Because I had that decision as a 16-year-old, to go to Florida, to go to all these other places in SEC, and so again, I was ultimately understood that I was a Penn State kid. So that's, I guess, the long answer of how much money would I make. Maybe I would have taken a pay cut to go to the NFL. My first year as a 7th rounder, maybe not.
Are you a fan of rivalries? Are you a fan of smack talk? Do you like to stand out from the crowd at tailgates? If so, check out Smack Apparel and see what their team has geared up for football season. Their Let There Be White tee is the perfect gear for all those famous whiteout games at Beaver Stadium. Or get straight to the point with the worst tee for all the Ohio State haters out there. Smack Apparel has the must-have tees for all your teams, including pro and college football, plus basketball, baseball. Every fan is covered. Head over to smackapparel.com and use the promo code STATE10, that's STATE10 at checkout for 10% off. Again, that's smackapparel.com, promo code STATE10 at checkout. Why wear boring when you can wear Smack? Are you looking for undeniably good hair and beard care? Then Maestro's Classic is perfect for you. Maestro's has beard washes, beard oils, beard butters, plus hair gels and pomades. It's one brand for every man. Visit maestrosclassic.com. That's MAESTROS classic.com and use our promo code STATE20. That's STATE20 at checkout for 20% off your order. Maestro's Classic, crafting a better you.
No, it just sounds like you were focused on sustainability at the end of the day, right? You look at an opportunity, where it goes, and how it all kind of transpires. And I think that's the one thing that's common about when you mentioned the staff and the players that they're recruiting in the NIL era, whether it's finding the right culture fits, where they're not looking for obviously big bags of cash, but not saying that you can't get it once you start to produce and on the field. Like the guys are, they have their NIL situations. It seems like everybody on the team is happy. They're recruiting at a high level and all those different things. But back to the sustainability aspect, I think is really cool opportunity at Penn State when you think about volume, right? When we're talking about the blue-white outfitters, Lockdown U, Long Boys, whether it's buying merch, revenue sharing opportunities, creating content where you can, have a different relationship with the fans and like treat them as customers, and you can kind of get into that flow and still be you, like you said, selling 42 jerseys. Like that was your name, image, and likeness at the time, whether it was linebacker you and jerseys and things like that. So I'm sure you would have took a full advantage, but your mentality of how to approach it, you were probably took advantage of it to actually have a lucrative value, because it would have been in multiple different areas and the opportunities that we were afforded at Penn State. So that's what I like to think about the NIL from that standpoint, because it's one way of, okay, yeah, you might get bags of money, but there's opportunities of real life business experiences when you're rubbing up against a powerful ecosystem, customers, supporters, or whatever the case may be. And you have a time to figure out your brand and provide value, you know what I mean, outside of your sport and along with your sport, because that's the main thing. You got to keep the main thing and take full advantage of it.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
keep the main thing the main thing. Which is,
you know what I mean?
No, look, these in a lot of ways, these current players, they and the recruits coming in and the pipeline, like even I'm learning it, at the high school level. There's a lot that goes on, and a lot they have to manage outside of just going to practice, going to workouts, going to play. And so just the importance of having those resources and people around them that are looking out, and that those kind of have that kind of competency and business experience, it is as important as ever. So,
Mike, you diving back into coaching. This is not a new thing, by the way, at Trinity High School in the Harrisburg area, in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, to be exact. You were doing this at your alma mater in the New Orleans area as well. What has the experience been like, kind of your maturing with it? And then how did this opportunity with former Penn State defensive lineman, your former teammate Jordan Hill, come about, because he's the head coach for the Trinity High School Shamrocks?
Yeah, so look, I've always when I retired from the NFL, that was 5 years ago in 2018. You finish up playing, and you're listening to everybody that's yeah, you should be a coach, you'd be a great coach, you'd be a great coach. And, for that reason, I'm like, I don't want to coach. Just quit telling me what to do. That was kind of always I was tired of listening to people. But ultimately, that my first year out, I was back home in Louisiana, and I was like, all right, started hanging around the high school and watch them work out. And then, I got kind of sucked back into it just because I loved being around it. And it kind of closed the loop for me, helped me make sense kind of where I started after I had gotten chewed up, spit out off the roller coaster of, just having the career that I did, which again, I was super grateful for and had no regrets on, but that helped me make sense of it all, going back home where it started, and I fell in love with it. I kind of forgot how much I knew about the game, what I could bring back to it, and the impact I could have. And I had a really great group of seniors at the time, and some of them I still keep in touch with. Some are still playing at the next level, which is really gave me that fulfillment and impact that's what it's about at the end of the day. So, that season I went on to do some other things and explore some other interests. I went to talk to Bill O'Brien. I spent some time with the Texans. Thought I was going to, I explored that level. For me, I really just like the high school level. College, of course, I've been around the program at Penn State and some other places, but Jordan called me about a year ago when he was this was after his first year at Trinity, and I remember talking to him about it, and you ever need a linebacker coach, let me know. And we joked, but he was for real. I could tell when Jordan's made up his mind about something, he's going, and I know I don't have to question him in any of his decisions. That value system is same. So, but for me, it wasn't the right time, and so I kind of put it on ice for a year. We kept watched the success that he had last season, which was they went the furthest that Trinity had ever been, which was to the semis, and he put together a great staff, and this thing is starting to really track. So I had called him back in February. I was like, how we doing? What do you think? He said, get up here. 6 days later, I'm sitting in the principal's office with him. Little did I know, like, he had this whole thing orchestrated and set up. He was pitching me, but man, I fell in love with this community and being back in Harrisburg. Kind of, I remember when I was first flying through here as a 16-year-old, driving up to Penn State. Just kind of my second home here. And the community's been great, but people that really care about the kids and getting their work done in the classroom and getting on the field and doing things the right way. So Jordan has really done a great job, and his staff as well. So I'm excited to add some value there to that program and see what we could do. Got a great opportunity there.
Can you give us a glimpse into your relationship with Jordan when you guys were at Penn State? What was that dynamic like?
Well, we got he came in the year after me, and we spent 4 years together. But really, we had known we worked together, of course, and we played together, and we had great chemistry. And then really in 2012 was when we really were fused together by helping keep our group together, and that's where I learned who he was and how he was and why that he was, and I'm still gaining more appreciation for him as a man, as a father, as a coach. But at the time, back early 2012, that was kind of when we started first really taking ownership of our group and working together. And one of the best teammates I've ever been around. So.
Well, he went on to be a Super Bowl champion with the Seattle Seahawks. For those that don't know, was a draft pick. And on top of that, for your purposes, he won a Class A state championship in the Harrisburg area just over the Susquehanna River. So that's got to be helpful in terms of reputation, et cetera. Are you a bit in awe seeing him as the head coach? I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're the associate head coach that's about to take over in 2023 here, that role. But what's it been like watching him in action as the head guy? Because that's got to be a little different perspective than what you've known him as for most of your life.
Yeah, no, for me, it's I really do feel like I'm meeting a part of him for the first time. But there's times where he's running meetings and I just sit back and I'm kind of watching him and reevaluating. But just couldn't be more proud. And if I'm in the front room, that's exactly how I want to be handling myself. So if anything, I'm learning from him. As much every day, and all these conversations, how this whole college recruiting thing. We've got a couple of players that are getting recruited pretty heavily from some Power 5 schools, some mid-major schools. So we've got college coaches in there. He's managing a lot of different things, and but again, great staff, and I'm learning from him. So again, that's why he's the head coach and the advancement director, and so. I'm integrating pretty quickly. So,
have you guys figured out what's going to happen when you make a bad defensive call and he cuts you out on the sidelines?
Yeah.
Is that going to be okay? Is everything going to be all right? You guys have the conflict resolution figured out yet? Because it's going to come.
Yeah, I think it'll come. It'll come. But again, like we've worked together. I mean, there's between the two of us, there's no panic in anything that could happen during the course of a football game. So if anything, we're kind of just trying to replicate that across our staff and duplicate all the experience that we've had and just again bring that to the program, to the kids, and and do some great things with so they can leave there and go on and play either more football or go on and be assets to communities and businesses they go and work for, and the next level education, whatever it may be. But yeah, it's going to be fun. That's for sure. And that's a lot of, it's got a lot of ingredients that for success. That's definitely for sure.
For maybe some of your players that may be listening, what's the one non-negotiable for Coach Mauti? Like if I'm playing for Coach Mauti, he's not going to let this fly. What's the clear expectation?
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple on the horizon that they don't know about yet. Because I haven't jumped in fully on and really. I'm a guy. I got to earn my street cred before I get it in front and just start demanding things to happen. That's just more my style. But as we work and as they see my commitment to them, I expect that kind of reciprocation. Is like, but I'll give you an example. In the weight room, we were in there working out, and they had a couple guys on their phone, a couple guys video, and I'm like, hey man, this is gonna end like today. No more of this. Like we're gonna have, this is now the no phone zone. Okay, we're gonna so we literally we put up a table, and I'm like, Jordan, he's like, yeah. I said, right now, you want to do it? He said, let's do it right now. Boom. We grabbed the table. It's like, all right. So now they turn. So when they walk in, it's every phone's got their name. It's like a little cubby hole system. And I'm like, hey, when we're working, we're working. Okay, we're not just. So there's my new non-negotiable. That's one example.
Makes a ton of sense. In the weight room. I like that.
We're here to work. And if you got an issue, look, if your mom's calling, then go talk to mom. All right, you need a ride, go. Okay, but not while we're working. So again, like let's keep the main thing, right?
100%.
So a lot of distractions out there.
No, that's great. I got a flashback story at the XFL when we had to implement, the weight training programs. At one point, we were going to deploy like an app system where guys had to lift weights on your phone. Because at the league office, we got finance guys, we're making financial decisions, but not always down to the operations. I'm just like, hey, I don't know if guys need to be walking around with their phones, like typing in their workouts, like the way that, we lift in there. Like, where are they going to put everything at? Like, on the magnet, on their phones? So it's funny that you have a rule like no phones, like NIL, not put it away. Keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's something. Look, there's a recipe for success. Fortunately, Jordan understands that. He knows our value system is same. Trinity's got a full-time strength coach in there. That's been some major Division I programs. He knows the way it's supposed to look and what it takes. So that there's no. It's not like any magic sauce. We know the recipe. It's like, okay, we can't focus for 45 minutes, an hour without a phone, and we got bigger problems, right? So
we're screwed as a society on that, unfortunately. So we're all addicted to our phones at this point.
Yeah,
Mike
holds me accountable too.
It's good.
Put mine down, right?
Mike, we appreciate you coming on the show. Before we let you go and dive into everything you got going on at Trinity and Lions Legacy Club, et cetera, do you have a projection going into 2023? Do you think Penn State football can make the college football playoff? Do you think they can make the national championship game?
I think they have all the ingredients to. I think, again, like you can say that's about any team, and it's like way too early to say that national championship, because who knows what's happening in November right now. I do know this: they have the ability to have as much success as they want to have. They've got to go and every game's going to test them in a little different ways as the season does. But there's still some untested battle assets that need to be proven, I think. But again, all the ingredients are there for them to make a run. How far you get, a lot of things. It's a funny looking ball. You got to be a little lucky along the way. You got to stay healthy, and you got to make plays. But this group has the ability to do that for sure.
We'll see what happens in 2023. We appreciate you coming on the show. For those that are interested, the Penn State Board of Trustees election is winding down, I believe, this Friday, May 5th. So go to psu.edu and cast your ballot now if you would like to. Michael's been very outspoken about that through Lions Legacy Club, et cetera. So you can make your voice heard now. There's not a whole lot of time left. But Mike, thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the off season. Get ready for some trial by fire at Trinity, man.
Yes, sir. Tom, thank you guys for having me. Justin, great to see you guys. We'll be ready, man. Come out and see us. Friday night, Trinity, Saturday, Penn State. Let's go.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for joining us. This episode and our entire library of shows is available now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, and wherever else you get your podcasts. And of course, let us know what you think of the show on Twitter @TheKing1 and @TomHannafin. State of State is presented by Bet Online.